I don't every day. Get any help when you got it? 45. Both I see is supposed to tend to rain. Yeah. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't see a storm in either direction. It's gonna pop up right here. I guess. Yeah. Oh, thank you. It'll screw up everybody. My God, I think people have been living on that rain. A lot of them. Yeah. Well, bitch, that really paid off. Well, I think mine somewhere now is already start paying here. Not very long. Yeah, what now you're paying like $5 or something. Now that's no, that's oh, okay. Just put it on. I think it's $5. Oh, it's over it.
Okay. All right. I think we're gonna get started. So if you guys want to find a seat, everybody that is not FSA, since they have volleyball practice and they told us that, we want to make sure we're cognizant of their time. So I want to just thank you all for coming. Sorry that it's under the circumstances that it's under. We're really glad that you've come to get some information from us. I also wanted to let you know we're going to do some introductions, but all of us come from farming and ranching backgrounds. We understand what you're going through. We're not just some big pie in the sky government agency. We all live locally. We've grown up around here or somewhere in the vicinity. So please call us if you have questions. Please reach out to us if we don't answer your questions today, which I'm sure we won't have some that need answered when we're all done. So go ahead and get started. So we have almost everybody here. I'm Carol Lanthorne. I'm with the Farm Service Agency. Sherman County is my home, but I've been doing shared management in Gilliam County and Wheeler County for 6 years or so. Then we have Adriana Tragey. She's going to be the CED in Gilliam. She is, but she's doing shared management in Morrow County right now. Kayla Mims is our program analyst, and she'll be doing a lot of the cattle programs with you guys. Same thing with Casey Rogers, our other program analyst. She'll be helping with that stuff as well, and emergency grazing of CRP. She'll be your contact for that. And then we have our district director, Josh Hanning, here today. And he knows the farm loan information, so we'll have some of that for you guys today too. Then we have Delray Ferguson with NRCS, Jessica Jones from Gilliam Soil Conservation and her conservationist, and then Joel as well. So, and then we have all our SWCD people, which you are probably much more familiar with, but we work hand in hand with them. They've been creating all of our maps and helping us, and they're going to be on the ground with you guys if we have technical support that we need. So we've got Herb and Nori, Roger, Jessica Gillen, Katie Garthwaite, Cassie, Ayla, Brooke, Kristen, and Maria. So you guys probably are more familiar with them than you are with us. So, and then we have, this is just another, this is the Morrow County staff. So this is more for the, over in Lone Rock, we're gonna have a meeting this afternoon, or this evening. So, but if you are a Morrow County producer, if you have cattle that have gone over to Morrow County, you'll be contacting them as well. We are, all of our offices can assist all of you. So if you get the wrong number, don't feel bad. We'll get you where you need to go. As you can see, your fire is ginormous. And we do have a map of the actual affected fire area as well as the evacuation zone. So if you were forced to move cattle because you were in an evacuation area, you also fall under some of these programs. So spread the word. If somebody's not here because they didn't think that this applied to them, let them know to give us a call. So we're going to go over some of our programs that we have, the eligibility that you have to be eligible for our programs, and then other resources, and then payment information on some of those programs. So we wanted to keep this slide in. So we're not just for when there's a fire. So if you have issues this winter, or even additional fires this summer, we will assist with if you have lost. So here's kind of an overview, and we're going to go over each of these programs individually today. So lots of different programs. Some of them you probably have not heard about. So hopefully we can answer some questions on those. So we're going to get right into it. So LIP is our livestock indemnity program. It's for livestock owners and contract growers. It pays on livestock deaths in excess of normal mortality rates, and covers death losses or livestock sold at a reduced sale, and payments for grazing losses for drought and fire. What we are going to need from you if you have cattle losses, we'll have a notice of loss that you'll file, and you can call us and we will start that process immediately. So you need to file with us before March 3rd of 2025. So it's the whole calendar year of losses on any of those other natural disaster type events that you might have lost cattle. We'll have to have proof of death. We like to have pictures. We don't necessarily like to look at them, but we like to have pictures, notes, third-party certification of those deaths. And if you have those, we'll get you lined out more information of what exactly we need. Proof of normal mortality, so any other deaths, cattle deaths that you had prior to that event will count towards your normal mortality. So if you keep a log of your cattle throughout the year, you should have that you've had losses prior to this. And then if you are a contracted grower, we'll need copies of your contract grower documentation. There's more to it. I'm going to tell you that everything we say here, there's a lot more to it. We are a government agency, so we're just kind of trying to give you the base today of what it is we're looking So livestock forage disaster program, a lot of you guys have heard of that through the drought the last few years, but because we are not in a drought, we're going to be qualifying under the fire, but it is only for federally managed land, so for the fire loss. We do anticipate that we'll probably hit D2 drought status for drought, but for now we're just talking about these federally managed lands. So what you're going to need for that are your livestock numbers, fire and drought. So if you only had some cattle in the area, is what we would look for on that. Farm and track information, if we don't already have that from you, and a copy of contract grower documentation, again, if applicable. And then because it's BLM and US Forest Service, we would need your leases, and then a statement from them stating that the ground cannot be grazed and must be rested due to the wildfire. We'll talk about this some more. If this affects you, you could be eligible for up to 2 more years. If they continue to say you need to rest it, then you can't put your cattle on. So we will be getting contacts with BLM and Forest Service so that hopefully we can help you get that as well. But we haven't had issues in the past getting that information. And so then we have ELAP, which is Emergency Assistance for Livestock, and then honeybees and farm-raised fish. We're talking about livestock today. There's multiple components. The first one we're going to talk about is water hauling. So it helps offset the cost of water hauled to livestock. What we're going to need from you is proof of permanent water source prior to the disaster. So we know that you probably had to move your cattle, but you probably had them in a spot where there was water. If you were already hauling water and now you have to haul water again, you don't qualify. So you're going to have to show us that you had them somewhere that had a water source. And then you're going to want to keep track of your gallons that you haul and the number of livestock you're hauling to. And we have your track maps. Same thing, we want to know where you're hauling to now, where you've moved them to. And this would be, not all of these programs now are qualifying for you who have been affected by the fire, but if you have to haul them to other counties and have to haul water in other counties because you had to move your cattle, you qualify for that. So you don't have to keep them in Wheeler County. And then if you're leasing the ground, we need either the lease or we have what we call an 855 form. It's just a handshake lease agreement. It's a 1-year lease, and both parties need to sign that. So we would need to have that on file. And then the next component to ELAP is hay transportation or feed transportation and actual livestock transportation. And they're two separate. So if you had to haul livestock out of the area, or if you have to haul feed to your animals because you now no longer have pasture because it's all burned up, you would qualify for this. We would need worksheets that you need to keep track of your normal mileage each day or when you haul. And then your current year, what you have done this year, and this is again, these are all calendar year programs, through the end of the year. So for this loss, we technically can't pay you until you're done transporting whatever it is, water, hay, livestock for this loss. So if you're going to be transporting water for the rest of the year, you're going to turn in an application at the end of the year with all of that. So, and then again, we would need leases on the ground. Additional feed purchases is another component. Helps offset the cost of extra or above normal amounts of feed purchased due to the disaster event. So you don't normally buy hay this time of year and you've had to buy a bunch more hay because you have to feed your cattle, you're going to qualify for that. We would need a breakdown of what you normally buy, I believe, for the past 2 years. And what you bought in this disaster year, so at the end of the year. You'll need to keep receipts from additional purchases. If you use your own hay, well, Jessica might have to correct me on this. If you use your own hay, that's not additional feed. Even if you normally sell that hay, you can't use that as additional because it's your own that you through. And again, you need leases. Something else I was gonna say. So then you can't, so herein lies the problem. You can't double up on your losses for a grazing loss in ELAP and additional feed purchases. So you have to choose which, and we can help you with that, depending on what the dollars come out to.
And we can make that determination.
Yep, yeah. And if we get into LFP for drought, LFP pays more than ELAP loss of grazing. So a lot of people are gonna wanna wait to see if we trigger for LFP and get LFP money for loss of grazing versus ELAP. So we'll need the type of livestock affected, the type of pasture affected, native or planted, number of acres affected, number of grazing days lost per calendar year, and again, your leases. All of these programs, we did not put calculations up here. We have, their handbook has calculations. All of these programs will pay on the lesser of what it either costs, what the government calculates it should cost you to feed your cattle a certain number of days and or water your cattle a certain number of days, or your actual costs. So like when you have additional feed purchases. So we don't ever want to pay you more, we want to pay you less. And that's not me, that's not my rules, but that's how it works. So we will make sure we let you kind of know individually the ins and outs of that if you call them or ask them more about those programs. Conservation programs. So here's one that I thought I would never have to do, and so I don't know a lot about it. But emergency forest restoration program, there'll be a sign up for if you lost. So it provides payment to eligible owners of non-industrial private forest land for emergency measure to restore land damaged by a natural disaster. County committee will determine land eligibility. The land must have or had existing tree cover, and it must be owned by any non-industrial private individual, group, association, corporation, or other private legal entity. And that'll pay, it's a cost share basis, so pay up to 75% cost share to implement approved restoration practices. So, and then here's the big one I think a lot of people are waiting on. So this is an emergency conservation program, and we're going to rehabilitate farmland and conservation structures damaged by natural disasters. Our big thing is fencing. So any cattle fencing that you lost, Roger and Gilliam County has started mapping a lot of that already in both Gilliam and Muir County. We'll pay up to 75% cost share to implement approved restoration practices. Got some more information on that coming up. And up to 90% cost share for beginning limited resource or historically underserved farmers and ranchers. It does not include female. I couldn't spell that right. So I don't know why female is excluded from underserved in this. But. So we do have what we call scenarios, and the 2024 rates are out for us. And so there's different components to ECP. There's tear out, so you got to get that old fence out that's damaged and ruined. And it's that 75% or 90% of $1.40 is what we will pay. And then on new build, there's non-difficult terrain, which will pay $5.99 a foot, and difficult terrain at $8.23 a foot. And that's kind of up to the discretion of NRCS and FSA. And you guys are going to kind of tell us what it is.
Please know where can we find it, not looking at the
well, we can, I don't know, these aren't on the fact sheet, because these are Oregon scenarios.
These are going to be these outside.
Yeah, so if you give us a call, we can get them to you. When you start applying, we're going to have a sign up for this as well. We'll make sure you know that these are the rates. We don't have the repair rate yet either, so if you don't want to completely new build.
This is the one program right now we know how to sign up.
Right.
Everything else Kara's going to talk about today.
But we are encouraging you to come in and start drawing those fence lines on the map, because we know what we need for the sign up, and we are going to have a sign up. So you can come in anytime and show us where your fence lines are.
What about if you just had, gates fall down, et cetera, and you went out and purchased things, do you just keep the receipts then?
Yes, and we do partial. So yeah, just keep your receipts. We do require you to turn receipts in even if you do your own work. So if you go out and build your own fence, that's fine. You need to keep track of your hours. If you hired somebody to help you, what you paid them, you get the rate that is here, even if it didn't quite cost you that much money, or the 75% or the 90% of that, but we do need those receipts. So if you bought materials, all of that. We discourage you from going out and starting to build, but we know that you can't necessarily do that. And once we get this sign up in place, we will ask the state committee to allow a waiver for you guys to start before the funding is in. But that's all at your own risk. So
Most of it is, security, our gates all open.
right, yeah.
So,
I don't know if you want to add anything to that, John.
Yeah, we're not telling you not to start, we're saying, for us to come in there and pay for the fence that we're gonna, have available to you as far as the village will do. Our program requirements state you have to sign up at the process. But again, I haven't seen too many scenarios where we have to come back and we have those folks that start early. Couple things to point out from what Kara's talking about here is this is fence that is going back in the same spot that where it was burned and lost, destroyed. If there's a property line dispute with a neighbor or moving the burn fence, that's something we can participate in. What we can participate in is where the fence going back where it was previously. There's a lot of program requirements and meetings on that. That's before we get. Another thing to point out, prepare for this repair rate to be under $2. The repair rate for 2024, I think is, these are the 2025 rates. The 2024 rate, I believe, is like $1.50, I would say. So I would think that that's going to be under $2 still. For some reason, we can't pull that rate. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry, Rick.
It's just a question of, most people
Yep.
want to put the gates down.
Absolutely.
This is about,
Yep.
fences, this is about all the
Right.
gates being
Yep, and we're not stopping.
Yeah.
We're encouraging every aspect of that. What we can cost share on, we'll let you know what we can and can't cost share on. Once you get our office. Well, we're gonna have a 30 to 45 day sign up, and then after that, it's on how much cost share you're requesting, and who can approve it. There's certain aspects that they go above our level, state levels to approve that cost share. It takes a little extra time, but we're gonna try to get this on rapid. No, we're talking, you should be ready to go by first part of spring, at latest, over the winter time, things are going that nature. And I'm talking, that would be the latest.
There is a whole stack of fence specifications over there. If you are going to rebuild a gate or a fence and you think you want FSA to cover that eventually, you need to take one of those today. You have to build it to those specifications or we cannot pay cost share. Okay? So they're over there, and if you have any questions, NRCS, SWCD, we can all help you make sure you get that done. And if you choose not to do it that way, that's totally your prerogative. We just wouldn't be able to pay on it. No, that one's not. But they're on the table right there. We'll get you one. Yep. That was an afterthought that we thought of today. Because you guys do want to get started. So we're gonna go.
He's up there to prepare the thing on the fence. It always gets down to, I don't know if you guys remember the 2018 fires we had in Roscoe County, Sherman County. It kind of gets into that aspect of, well, who do we pay? We pay the landlord, we pay the operator, we pay and maybe one of those folks isn't the person who the catalog, right? So we pay who's ever tied to that tract of land that's going to do the the improvements for that piece of property. So it may be the operator, it may be the owner. So that's something to think about and consider. That's an arrangement that the operator and owner would be working out amongst themselves.
Where do the Forest Service
Great question. Forest Service elements fall in this.
Yes.
That was something you could thank your Congressman Vince, him and a couple of us, there was 9 western states that got together. That was pulled out in 2020. It was pulled out, but we were not allowed to pay on any Forest Service or BLM fences. There were not privately owned. That is now back in there.
Yeah, we'll get you.
That is now back in the procedure. We're able to pay for those fences and include them in. Now, it's going to be such a large, what's important to us is right here, right now, if possible, this ask is so large statewide as far as its funding level and whatnot, so there's only so much only you folks can do. So you may want to start off with certain areas, certain actions first, before we get, so we can make sure we can get it done. Once it is approved, we can only go up to a year worth of extensions. I want to keep that in mind.
So, and I was going to touch on that. I don't know if I put it in the slide, but I have already expressed my concerns, and others have as well, because it's going to be so large, and it's going to be the state of Oregon, because we're all falling under this with all the fires. And because it's a regional request that got us here, we're going to hopefully be able to ask for a regional extension once we know how many people in Oregon and how many foot of fencing, miles of fencing needs to be done, because it is going to be a hard ask to get all of those fences built in that timeline. And so hopefully we'll be able to get you more time, but you're going to have to prioritize what you want. And we're already kind of starting to do that in the office also.
I would just recommend that you map it all.
Yes.
And then you break it into priorities.
Yep.
Whether it's your boundary fence is your priority, if your interior or second or third priority, map it, because NRCS might be able to come in next year and handle the processes. We don't typically get involved with boundaries, that means we can prioritize for FSA. And if you're hitting the payment limit, or it's just more than you're going to get done, stay the interior.
And we'll talk about payment limitation here in a second too. So a lot of this we kind of just went over. So we're going to have you come in and you're going to go over your maps and you're going to show us where your fence lines were. Like Josh said, it's got to go back in the exact same spot for FSA to pay for it, even if it's more convenient to move it. Now you might be able to talk to NRCS, SWCD, if they have something where you could get part of it built by FSA and then move a line and then start again with FSA. But we're going to have to, it's always been put the fence back where it was. So, right. Well, it sounds like we can get some of that. Also. Yeah.
How do you treat what wire needs in place and what doesn't?
So it just has to meet the specifications on the sheet, and so that's a decision for you.
Wire, it's still there.
Yeah.
The lifespan is supposed to be 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you don't treat it, it will last.
You guys can tell us that?
No, that's a landowner operator discretion.
You decide.
And that is the beauty of this program is we do pay on the repair.
So then, the owners and operators, you guys will determine who will rebuild your border fences. Fence line, like I said, must be built in the same spot. Once the footage and fence lines are determined, the county office will submit the producer's application. That's during the whole sign-up process. We'll make sure, even if you tell us you've got lost fences and you come and mark them on the map, we'll make sure you get signed up. But do look for our newsletters. We have a sign-in sheet over there. We would really, really like you guys to give us your cell phone numbers and emails if possible, if you have them. And if not a cell phone number, then a good contact, because we don't want you to miss out if you have these needs. So, and then we'll notify you when you're able to start working on your fence. And if you already have, then that's the point where we can start turning in receipts if we receive the waiver to pay for fence that was already built prior to the approval. So, I know, do you guys have more questions on that? I'm sure there's lots.
I just want to touch on one thing. Delray made a really good point here. When you're coming in and applying for these livestock programs, you got a great NRCS and great SWCD staff in the field in the county. They're going to help out and they're doing an awesome job. We can just.
I can't hear that man.
Where the fences were building, and that's really good spot. Go down to the number 3 portion there, some of the things that we've had, some of the most issues with, in previous times, I'm not saying you're gonna have it here, is have a conversation with the neighboring landowner, who's gonna pay for what, and who's gonna apply for it. It's very tough for us when we go back and ask, we have to get an approximate mileage and an approximate dollar value, what that equates to. So if there's a landowner dispute, it's pretty tough. We got 5 miles of fence, some sort of boundary. It's pretty tough for us to ask for 10 miles of fence and we times that by 20, 30 landowners. They don't know what they're going to do. That equals a lot of dollars. So if you have that conversation with your neighbor, who's going to pay for what before we come in, that's great. And here's a couple scenarios. Here's an example of that we've seen. Say there's a 2-mile boundary. This landowner's doing a mile, this landowner's doing a mile, and we'll sign up for that way. And we mark it on the map. And so there's lots of things to work out there, but that's really help us in our ask when we go back and ask for these dollars once we have the sign up.
Any other questions?
Is there a ranking process for these, or is this first come, first served?
Nope. And I asked about funding, and there's never been really a cap on funding for this. We do have to send it up for the request so they can put the dollars out there. We don't anticipate that this is going to be an issue. It's going to be big, but Texas, they did theirs, and they're already starting to pay on those from this last spring. So, yes, there is a payment limitation per person per entity, and we'll get to that too.
So would you say that this cannot be signed up?
No, I'd say it's unavailable right now to grab the money. But yes, you can start the paperwork when you go in and do some other projects. Just like Delray said, we encourage you to come now and let us know what those are. And once we have a sign up, we will be able to call you and say, hey, we got the sign up. You've already reported to us, you lost 6 miles of fence. You come in and sign the paperwork when you want to be included. So,
No. So that expiration does not even start until the funding has been approved and you sign. So your timeframe to build fence does not even start until we approve after the funding is approved. And we might have some wiggle room on that too, so.
let me back up and get that more clear.
Yeah.
And this gentleman had a really good question here, and I got a little bit of speed on. So we are going to announce a sign up for the fence. It's going to be a 30 or 45 day sign up. Landowners come in, show us on the map where the fences are burned, sign up for the program. We think that the estimate of the mileage and the footage that we calculate that's going to be for Gilliam and to a regular county ask, and that's a dollar figure. Then we throw that out there to our national folks and say, here's the figure, and then they say, okay, you can approve, you can start approving. Along with that, your local county committee can only approve up to a certain dollar value. Your state level can only approve a certain dollar value, and anything above that goes national. It doesn't take any feet of fence to get above our state approval rate, especially when we're talking 823 and 599.
Yes.
Per landowner, per person signed.
So some of you might get approved for others to get going because they have a lower dollar value and county committee can say, okay, go, where the others might have to go to the state and national level. So.
But again, there's no ranking, there's no first come, first served, but it will be in that sign up period when it is announced.
Yep.
Is there any FEMA funding that we get for anything that
We lost this fire?
FEMA, so that's not us. I can't even answer that question. I don't know, Josh. We do have,
FEMA funding. Wheeler SWCD is also an eligible applicant, I guess you would call it. And so we've also been looking into getting FEMA funding. So there likely will be a couple avenues to FEMA. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, before you leave, I'll get that too. Yeah.
all right, yeah, and feel free to call us with any other questions you guys have. And like I said, we will be having, we'll sit down with each and every one of you when it comes to ECP for fencing, and try to get all those answers that you need. So.
You can't double dip, so you can't say it's this chunk of fence, you can't pay on the same 1 mile chunk of fence with both projects. But whatever USDA is not covering through these programs, you can bring those other programs in to cover additional fencing. Yeah, I'll talk after Karen and thank you.
Yep. All right, okay, so statewide, we have been approved for CRP emergency grazing, but it is only for those that are affected by the fire. But you can take your cattle to any CRP that is approved, and the NRCS says can handle the cattle, so any county. If you know of somebody in another county and they've got CRP and you want to ask them if you can put your cattle there, across the state we can utilize that, but you have to have been in the fire area or the evacuation zone, because we understand that you would have had to move your cattle, and you're probably not moving them back right now. So, the owner of the ground must contact the office and you have to get permission from the grazer. We've got a lot of documentation, paperwork we've got to do. So don't just call somebody and then go put your cattle back there. You've got to let us know. There's a plan that will be created with NRCS and FSA. And there must be a lease in place that clearly states that the CRP grazing is permitted. So we have a notice of loss form that you can fill out, or basically a statement that you are, we put that on here, that you're utilizing emergency grazing due to loss of grazing from the fire. So you have to certify that that's why you're utilizing it.
Does it include PrEP, CRP?
Nope. So it has to be an approved CRP practice, and PrEP is not approved, and neither is safe. Which we don't.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is.
PrEP for sure.
We
Yeah.
can prep. The only thing I can say is that for certain you can be, that's the prayer.
And so then you're gonna let us know which CRP fields you're gonna graze. How many acres of range ground is also fenced kind of in that area. So if you're gonna utilize CRP and range, and that helps NRCS create the plan to know that yes, that piece of ground can handle that many cattle. So we need to know how many cattle you want to turn out, and then you can only utilize it for 90 days is the maximum. And it may not be that many if you're trying to put more cattle out there than it can sustain, and we'll let you know that. So, and the grazer and the owner operator, anybody on the CRP contract, or not everybody on the CRP contract, has to sign approving or allowing that. So here we go. NRCS will draw the conservation plan, stating how long the grazing can take place, depending on how many cattle you want to put out there. Grazer and all individuals on the CRP contract must sign all grazing documentation, and all grazing documents must be signed before the cows can be turned out on the CRP. And then once the cattle are removed, you also have to sign what we call the CRP 118, letting us know that the cattle have been removed. So, we worked really hard to get this open. We don't want to lose this privilege. We really want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row when we're utilizing this, because Secretary of Ag can just take that away from us at drop of a hat if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So,
A couple of things that go together on that, real quick, Karen.
Yep.
A couple of things that go together on this is we will pay for the tracking of the livestock, it off really increases wherever you find that. If you find CRP participant, you will be ranking.
Yep.
So there's a couple components here.
Okay. And then I do know that we have had some prep acres burned, so if you have CRP or prep acres that have burned, and I guess I should also stipulate that because we've been approved, I believe now we're approved for any other wildfires that come through. So keep in mind, this covers anything from here now until, I believe, the end of the year, is what it sounds like to me. So if you do have CRP or prep acres that are burned, you want to contact FSA and NRCS and let us know. We probably already know, we probably already see it in the fire map.
What's CREP?
Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. It's anything like along the waterway. You would know if you have a CREP contract. It pays better. You can't put cows on it. It's usually along either a waterway or a stream. It's a buffer. It's a riparian buffer. So
This prep reference, is that an active one at the time or one that's 30 years old?
So if it's been re-enrolled and we're still paying you for it, no. Okay, then yeah. If it's no longer in prep, then yeah, you don't need to let us know. So we like to play our little waiting game with this because sometimes fire helps it, sometimes it doesn't help it. More than likely, everything will come back and it'll be all right. But we're not going to do anything. We're not going to terminate your contract right away. But we do want to know. And so we're going to sit and wait, and then maybe late next spring or early fall of 2025, NRCS will go out and complete a field review and assess the damage, and then we might wait some more, or we might say, hey, it looks really good, it's coming back, nothing to worry about. If NRCS feels like it's done, it's toast, then we'll talk to county committee, and we're going to figure out a plan. If the cost to reestablish the prep and or CRP outweighs the benefits of the project, then they would recommend that it be terminated. That would not be at any cost to you. You would not have to pay anything back, but we would stop the contract and you'd be done with that for now. We do have some questions already in because we had some people that got into a prep contract and they've started doing the work, haven't turned in their cost share. And from the way that we've had some issues like this in the past, I believe they can still turn in their cost share, get paid, and then we're going to still play this waiting game to see if they're going to need to receive it or do more work on it. So I don't know how many of you, if any of you, are affected by this at this point.
Expense on practice CRP, you begin separately from PCP,
So if we paid for your fence on prep and we paid for it in this contract that you are currently in, we're not going to pay for it again, I believe, because it needed to withstand. So it should have been they should have met the standards and it should have been ruined. Okay. So, but if it's an old fence and we're paying you a fencing rate, that's where I don't know where we stand. So say it was done two prep contracts ago and has been re-enrolled twice, I'm going to have to find an answer to that.
now all CRP fence.
So we don't.
Landowner's responsibility.
No, I don't think fencing for ECP, if there was a fence there, because we never paid for fence on regular CRP. So yeah, I think we should follow that.
Right, fences were built to your specs with good rock tax.
That would have been more than 10 years ago. I don't know. Less than 10 years ago, we had fencing specs.
With rock tax.
That would be a specific question we can apply.
Yeah, we'll find out an answer for that. Can you write that one down, Adriana? Can you write that question? Awesome, thank you. Perfect. Okay. Oh, and I will say, we have almost as many questions as you guys. We have never had this amount of programs available and going at the same time because of these natural disasters, and especially across the state. And a lot of them have changed even in the last year from the last time we did them. So please bear with us when we say we don't know, because we are still working on it, and we will make sure we get your questions answered, right?
I have a question.
Yep.
You said if the fence is built to your specifications, it'll last forever?
Well, not forever. It's supposed to last 10 years, and I think the new standards are all metal except some, I don't know.
Okay, let's say this works again in 5 years, actually, let's just say. And somebody drives a cat through it, that
Right.
fence is not gonna be there.
So that's a good question. It didn't burn up, but they drive a cat through somebody's fence that we've already paid for. We still can't pay for that, right, Josh?
I mean,
Next
if
10
you're making
years.
a
What's the question again?
Well, like, if you're making if this burns again in 5 years, you're gonna put in a new fence, and, you have somebody like Dave Groves building your skid trail. It's not for fence. He's gonna go right on over.
I mean, the costs are pretty minimal, like just some splice wire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna be miles of fence.
Yeah, something like that, probably.
He can knock it off the cat and cut the wire.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Oh, Josh, you wanna talk about emergency loans?
Sure, I mean, the last thing everybody wants is another loan, right? But you have a loan program that can help pay, for any injured costs that you may incur. And we have a really good loan team, we can get you in touch with, you can contact the office and we'll put you in touch with them as well. Our loan team is stationed out of Pendleton, and they have one grand offices.
So there are options, and we'll make sure we get you to the right person if you have questions about possible loans. Yeah. Yeah, so restore or replace essential property loss, living expenses, production costs associated with disaster, physical loss in livestock products, equipment.
And this just highlights the police department.
Right.
We do loans that are just for operating as well, that will put up these loans.
But do emergency loans, do you have to meet those same qualifications, or can you?
No, it's different.
Yeah, so it's easier, right? Possibly get into an emergency loan, so. Then, like you said, we've got operating loans, and farm ownership loans. It's just something to know. If you guys have questions, we can get you to the right people. And then the disaster set-aside program. I know Jane talked about this. I don't know.
This is for existing customers.
Okay. All right, so if you have never been into our office, which a lot of you have, some of you haven't, and I know that there's a lot in Wheeler County that haven't. If you need to bring a copy, you don't necessarily have to bring a copy of the deed, because we can pull up the tax out later, but it's very handy, we like to have it. Rental or lease agreements of the land, and then if you either own under an entity or operate under an entity, we are going to need some documentation. We also have to go down to every warm body that's in that entity. So we're gonna ask you for a lot of stuff. We are the government, so but we're gonna do our very best to get what we need from you. And we've done this a lot. So when we ask you for something or we say we need something, we're not just trying to be obnoxious. It's just our job. So, and we want to make sure you are eligible for the payments that you might be able to get. So.
In the packet, if you guys have not participated in their programs, you do not have a property map. Those of you who have participated, have a property map that you can start marking on. If you do not have a map, reach out to us and we can print one, email it, mail it, whatever is needed to get you guys what you need to start marking what needs to be repaired.
And one thing to note, especially about like Taylor Basin, landlocked country, is a lot of those smaller farms are not in our system. So we will need to get those added, so if you guys could call and come in as soon as possible, so we can get your farm established in the system, and then start working on your eligibility documents. That would be great, that way you can take the maps home and start working on while you do your eligibility.
And that's the form that we
Yes.
need, right? So that's the blank form in the packet for the new participants.
And if you don't have one, we have packets available for you guys.
I was just gonna say, there is a few, packets that went out that had maps, but had not been updated to new ownership. Potentially, so like at one point, previous owners did participate, but it's not updated with FSA. So for the most part, if you don't participate in a map, they're all updated out there. Just call the office one way or the other.
What do you mean by participating? Like you had
If you had
CFP?
contracts from NRCS or FSA, then you have farmers. You never put rocks or mineral in the units, you probably don't have.
And if it's been 15, 20 years, please fill out the new producer packets anyway, that way we have up-to-date information.
And like I said, cell phones and emails are pretty important right now, and we'll get to that, here in a minute as well. So then we'll get, like I said, we'll get your farm or ranch enrolled in the FSA database if you're not already in there. Get a map created for your farm, boundaries and acreages. You'll have a farm number, and then we'll provide you with our routine program notifications. And that you'll get if you give us an email address. We'll get a newsletter. Every single month we put out at least one, if not more. If we have something else going on, like a meeting, we might put out more than one notice. And you'll just get an email that is a newsletter with what's going on, what programs are happening in our office. So. And so then this is why your email and your phone numbers are important. So we have a way to do electronic signatures. And if you have your emails and your cell phone numbers, you do not have to come into our office probably at all. Like we can work with you over the phone. It's nice to have you in person. It's a lot easier. But if we have everything we need and we're ready for a signature, we just shoot that off to you and you open your email and you click on it and you enter an authentication code and you're signed and you're good to go. So it's really convenient. All you have to have is your cell phone. You don't even have to have a computer. If you want to utilize that. Something did I say about that? Lost my train of thought. In person. So we're going to talk to Cassie, and you don't always have to come to Conway. That's where our office is, but we know we've got an office in Wheeler County. If we can meet you guys, if we can have an appointment and come down to Wheeler County, we'll do that. We just need to know. So we want to make sure we get you guys taken care of. So if it just doesn't work and you want to do it in person, we can make it happen. All right, so this is kind of just an overview of what we went over today, the different programs, and we're also going to tell you what your peanut limitation is, the amount that we can pay you. So LIP for livestock deaths above the normal mortality rate. There is no limit on how much we can pay you on that. So if you have lots of losses, which I know there's some losses, but not to the extent of some of the other counties in Oregon. So the LFP is the grazing losses due to the drought or fire, in this case, on grazing land, fire on federally managed land. So it has a $125,000 limit per person or legal entity. So if you have an LLC that has multiple people in it, it's still just a $125,000 limit. ELAB for water hauling, livestock transportation, feed transportation, additional grazing costs. It's all of those things. Again, no limit on that. EFRP, if you're doing any forest restoration, is $500,000 per person or legal entity. And then ECP for fencing is $500,000 per person or legal entity per disaster. I need to get some clarification. I believe wildfire throughout the year. I don't know if we have another one and you're affected by both of them, if they're separate. because we've done a blanket Oregon ECP deal, it might just be the one. So,
So you can get that funds for the fire this year, and we can get it again next year for the erosion fund.
not on the same piece of ground, I don't know. Yeah,
It's two different
right.
disasters.
Well, you can get that amount of money, I don't know if it's all the same, like, you couldn't rebuild your fence twice. I don't know.
On the fence, if you repair it, does it have to be in those same specifications?
Yes. Yes.
So
As much as
basically,
possible.
Yeah.
basically you have to tear out all the fences back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me put it this way, sir, is the specifications that you're gonna give here are NRCS specifications, which are very good. We don't necessarily look at those specifications when it comes to people. We try to we encourage you to do it as much as possible. Yeah. That's why I said that. And I'm giving another plug for what Delray mentioned with combining NRCS and FSA programs, and we did this in 2018. NRCS built interior fences for EQIP, FSA did the boundary fences for ECD, and a lot of it had to do, at that time, it was $250,000 per person per disaster. If you get to add it up, it doesn't, it's a huge number, I mean, the dollar means a lot, but $500,000 per individual is not a lot when we're talking about a lot of new fence, and a lot of miles. So if that's something that, again, you're never mention it, leave the door open for potential equipment, that's something, like you said, prioritize what needs done now. And I was asked over here, I think it's a very important question. This will really be the only sign up for this disaster. There won't be another sign up for the same disaster next year. So that's where it's really important to do your prioritization and what we can help with now on this stuff. If the EFRP is approved, what we do with EFRP, how many we have any foresters here? So Oregon Department of Forestry, foresters, the service forestry for Wheeler County is the one that we work, is the folks we work with. They help design the EFRP, and that's a really good program. Right now, I just signed off on some things yesterday. Iowa County from 5 or 2 years ago, the tree availability is a big thing. But that is something that we can do more extension on as far as to grow those trees for the area. Yeah, yes, that's a great question. It pays for site prep, it pays for the planting, it pays for a lot of stuff. Yes. If there's a yeah, if there's an issue in trees, yeah, we get a waiver. We could do up to an 18-month waiver right off the bat, because that has been the biggest thing, especially in the low percent areas, getting trees that. Zero.
I know.
Yeah, right. The service force just.
They're in charge of the cultural. All right.
This $500,000 limit, some of us want 1,600 acres of planted. There's no way we could higher cost of everything, inflation.
Right.
That one you touch in.
Yeah.
So that's not.
Is there only one person? Is there
Yes.
only one person on the ground?
Yes.
You own it all by yourself?
Yes, I did all by myself.
Okay.
30 years ago.
I mean, I don't make the rules. I don't know if there's a way to, if there's any kind of waiver on that, but yeah.
Well, that better be, that's all I can say, because that's totally.
Well, she's talking about the EFRP.
Conversation.
The
For that
EFRP.
matter, fences too.
But those are two separate.
Right, right, but even, she's just talking to CFRP alone.
1,600 acres of plantation that I planted by myself.
And there might be other programs and other agencies that could do some of that, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll talk about matching funds.
That's not even a touch of it. I know what I paid then, and I'm going to do the same darn thing again, tree for tree, through the same programs. The creek and the trees, the fences, of course. And by God, somebody's gonna fix it.
Oops, I think I got in the wrong spot. Oh, no, it's wrap up farmlands. So that's, again, the farmland options that we've got. Okay, so I know somebody was asking about phone numbers and who to contact. We have some cards over on the table. You can always call the FSA office in Gilliam County and NRCS, and we will make sure we get you to who you need to get to. Like I said, we are all local. We all know what you've gone through. We will all make sure that you get to the right people with your questions. So feel free to jot down any of those numbers that you need. Take some cards off of the table. I think I'm just gonna go forward for a second, but I'll go right back. I'll just leave that up there. So, and like I said, if you get a hold of the wrong person, we'll make sure you get to the right person. Most of us can answer the questions that we know, and then if not, we will make sure we get those answers for you. So
before I start talking from the SWCD, is there any other questions to the USDA?
Yeah, where's your office? Your local office for
the FSA.
I don't know the FSA, but.
For the SWCD?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
FSA,
yeah,
USDA.
USDA.
Yep, USDA, FSA and NRCS are USDA. So in Condon, we don't have one here in Wheeler, but we service Wheeler County. We are in Condon. It's 234 South Main. Right a kitty corner to Two Boys. Just right a kitty corner to the grocery store there in Condon.
That's both.
Both. Yep, we're both there. And SWCD. So all the top three are in that office.
Any others? So I apologize, I don't have a slide deck for you guys today, but